Mom guilt. I feel like it's something I've been experiencing since my son was born. Maybe even before that, when he was still in the womb. When he was finally born though, I wanted to stay home with him. I wanted that year to really breastfeed him and look after him, and I still felt like I was failing. I was getting really frustrated about being a new mom. I felt tired. He wasn't napping during the day. My mom wasn't here. She was in Canada, so I didn't have any help. My son's dad was traveling for business, and I just really felt like I was struggling. Then years later, when I looked back on when my son was a baby, I thought, oh, why didn't I spend more time with him? Why didn't I nurture him more? Why didn't I just cherish those little moments with him? I just couldn't help but feeling that guilt when I went back to work. Well, now you've got more mom guilt. He's in daycare. I'm not spending enough time with him. He's cold. His feet must be cold. He's not getting cuddled at daycare. Every day I would pick him up and he would cry and run to me. And I just felt so miserable that I was leaving him with a complete stranger. And so then that guilt kicked in. On top of that, I had this manager who was a complete dictator. She would get so mad if I walked into work even 1 minute late after dropping my son to daycare early in the morning. He would be there for 9 hours a day. And then I would sometimes rush there at on my lunch break to just peek at him where he couldn't see me, but I could see him, just to make sure that he was okay. And I just saw him crying with the teacher trying to comfort him. And that just made me feel worse. Now fast forward many years, he's gotten used to being in school, I've gotten used to working, but the guilt has just not gone away. Why? Because it's just a rat race world. I started feeling bad that, okay, I'm spending all this time in the office and he's got to go to an after-school program instead of coming straight home to rest and have a snack and take his shoes off, just rest his feet and do a little homework. And it just is this constant cycle in our head. Am I right? How many of you are feeling this way too? I know that it's not just me. When things really came to a halt was in 2020. Well, suddenly all the things that I wished for, to have more time with my son and just not have him so cranky after school because he can just come straight home and rest, that happened. When 2020 happened, we were able to go to the beach more, spend more time outside, and really it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because a little bit of that mom guilt washed away, but there was still some left. Because when I was working from home and he was homeschooling, I was still a little stressed, and in the time when he had downtime, he was watching a lot of TV. And I felt guilty about that. I felt bad that I wasn't making all these crafts and baking banana bread. I mean, I was baking some banana bread, but not all the time. And there were times where I just needed him to watch TV or play with his toys alone and leave me alone so I could get my work done. And I spoke to his dad about this. He said, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. See, men don't think the same way we do they? They just can dismiss some of these things and keep moving along, which is great. I wish I had that capability. And he said, don't feel so bad. You know, other moms and other parents are doing this as well. Everybody's having a tough time. So I had to remember that. Everybody's having a tough time. And years later, are our kids really going to remember all these little things that we might have felt guilty about? At the end of the day, when I think about our parents, you know, they were busy too. So another level of my mom guilt was getting divorced. Now suddenly I'm not there for my kid. He was only 4 years old at the time. I had all this free time on my hands on the days that he was with his dad, and I thought, oh my gosh, is he getting the cuddles and the love from his dad? And his dad is a very good dad, but I still worried about this. I still worry that I'm his mom. I grew him inside my womb. I need to be there for him. And I often try to overcompensate when he's with me to try and make sure that I'm doing so much for him and spending that quality time for him, even when I'm feeling dizzy or anxious or just plain old tired and don't want to go outside and play kickball. I still go out there and play kickball, sometimes with a grumpy face. So moms, I want to know, what is it like for you as a parent in comparison to the father? Do you experience a lot more mom guilt? And what are the things that make you feel guilty?